The sound of shattered glass was the first thing that told me something had gone terribly wrong. I wasn't even in the living room when it happened. I was in the hallway, holding a stupid birthday card with glitter that was already sticking to my sweaty hands. I remember thinking, why is it so quiet all of a sudden? Just minutes ago, everyone had been laughing, music was playing, and I was telling myself that maybe, just maybe, this was going to be the best birthday I'd had in years. But when I stepped back into the room, I saw it. Curtains still swaying like someone had moved too fast. My cake, the one I spent an embarrassing amount of money on, sitting untouched on the table. And then Delilah, my wife, standing there, her face pale, her lipstick smudged, looking like she'd been caught in the middle of something she couldn't explain. She wasn't alone. There was Curtis. Yeah, the guy I didn't even invite, the guy who showed up like some unwanted storm, and he had that look. You know the one. The I've already crossed the line and I don't care kind of look. His shirt was half untucked, his grin gone. He wasn't even trying to hide it anymore. I swear I felt something inside me collapse right then. Like my ribs weren't holding me up anymore. I didn't shout. I didn't throw anything. I just stood there, holding that stupid glitter card while the people I trusted most looked at me like I was the intruder. What is this? I asked. My voice cracked, and I hated myself for it. Delilah stammered. It's not. Vernon, please, it's not what you think. Not what I think. Really? Because what I thought was that my wife had just chosen my birthday, of all nights, to blow our life apart. My hands were shaking so badly, I almost dropped the card. I didn't even realize there were still guests in the house until I saw them standing awkwardly in the doorway, whispering to each other, pretending not to see the wreckage of my marriage happening right in front of them. I told them all to leave. My voice didn't even sound like mine. People left in silence, like they were sneaking out of a crime scene. Curtis had the audacity to smirk at me on his way out, and I wanted to break something. The house was silent after that. Just me and Delilah, standing there in the aftermath. Her eyes were red, and she kept saying my name like she was begging me not to disappear. And later that night, she did something I never expected. After everyone left, the house felt like a crime scene. The leftover laughter from the party still clung to the air, but everything else was silent, too silent. I sat on the edge of the couch, still in my birthday hat, staring at the floor like it had the answers. Delilah didn't speak at first. She just stood in the doorway, wringing her hands like a guilty teenager. Every time I glanced at her, she looked away, and that hurt more than the image of her with Curtis. I think that's when I realized the truth. She wasn't sorry for what she did. She was sorry for being caught. I kept asking myself why. Why tonight? Why my birthday? Was this some twisted way to send me a message? When I finally spoke, my voice sounded broken. You could have just told me, I said. You didn't have to set my life on fire. Her lips trembled like she was about to cry. It wasn't supposed to happen, she whispered. I didn't plan this, Vernon. Stop. I cut her off. I couldn't listen to some rehearsed excuse. I wanted her to say something real, something that made sense. But she just stared at me like a stranger. And for the first time, I saw her differently. Not as my wife, not as the woman I loved, but as someone who had just destroyed everything we built. I thought she'd pack her things and leave. That's what people do in situations like this, right? But instead, she sat down on the floor in front of me, her hands clutching my knees. Don't do this, she said, her voice breaking. Don't give up on us. I messed up, but please, Vernon, I can't lose you. I wanted to push her away. I wanted to scream at her until the neighbors called the cops. But the pathetic truth is, I just sat there, numb, while she begged me like her life depended on it. She kept talking, saying things like, it was a mistake, and I don't care about him. But all I could think about was how easily she'd laughed with Curtis, how her eyes sparkled in a way I hadn't seen in months, maybe years. Then she said something that broke me all over again. I've been lonely, Vernon, even with you. You don't see me anymore. That hit me like a punch to the gut because, deep down, I knew she wasn't lying. I had been coasting through our marriage, thinking that just being there was enough. But was that an excuse for this? For kissing some random guy at my birthday party? The clock hit 2 a.m., and she was still on the floor, crying, begging me to say something, anything. I didn't know what to say. I felt like I was split into two people, one who wanted to throw her out and never look back, and another who still wanted to fix this disaster, no matter how pathetic that made me. What I didn't realize then was that the real shock of the night hadn't even happened yet. Because just as I was about to stand up and tell her to leave, my phone lit up with a message that changed everything. I was seconds away from telling her to leave. I could feel the words building in my throat, heavy and bitter, ready to finally cut through the silence. But then my phone lit up on the coffee table, buzzing twice, and for some reason, I picked it up. Maybe it was just instinct. Maybe it was because I wanted to escape the moment, even for a second. The message was from an unknown number. It read, "You deserve to know what she's been doing behind your back. Tonight wasn't the first time. Check your email." I froze. The blood drained from my face so fast I felt dizzy. I didn't even look at Delilah at first. I just stood up, walked to my laptop, and opened my inbox with shaking hands. There it was, a new email with the subject line, "For Vernon." No name, no signature, just a file attached. I clicked it, and my world collapsed all over again. It wasn't just Curtis. It wasn't some drunk kiss at a party. There were photos, grainy but clear enough, of Delilah with another man I didn't even recognize. Different places, different times. A hotel room. A car parked in some dark lot. Screenshots of messages she'd sent. Words I can't get out of my head even now. Things she used to say to me when we first started dating. Things she had no right to say to anyone else. "Vernon, what are you looking at?" she asked, her voice trembling. She tried to lean over my shoulder, but I slammed the laptop shut so hard the screen almost cracked. "How long?" I demanded. My voice didn't even sound like mine anymore. It was deeper, darker, like someone else had taken over. Her face went pale. "It's not what you think," she said again. But this time, her voice was hollow, like she already knew the game was up. "Don't you dare," I snapped. "Don't you dare tell me what I think when I'm looking at proof." I shoved the laptop toward her. "How long, Delilah? How long have you been doing this?" She didn't answer. Not at first. She just sat there on the couch, shaking, covering her face with her hands like a child. When she finally spoke, it was barely a whisper. 6 months. 6 months. Half a year of lies. I felt something inside me snap. All the begging, the tears, the pleading. It suddenly felt like a performance, like I'd been sitting through the world's cruelest play, and she'd been the star actor. But then, something completely unexpected happened. She stood up, walked over to me, and said, "You're not leaving me." Her tone had changed. It wasn't soft anymore. It was sharp, almost desperate in a different way. "I'll do anything, Vernon. You want the truth? Fine. But you're not walking away." It was like she transformed in front of me. She wasn't just begging anymore. She was fighting. And in that moment, I didn't know whether to hate her more or, God help me, still want to hold on to her. Before I could respond, my phone buzzed again. Another message from that same unknown number. "This is bigger than you know. Call me." I stared at the screen, my heart pounding. Who the hell was this person? How did they know so much about my life? And what did they mean by bigger than you know? I didn't realize it yet, but that message would drag me into something much darker than just a broken marriage. I stared at that text like it was a bomb about to explode. My mind was already fractured, but now it felt like someone had grabbed the pieces and was shaking them just to watch me fall apart. "This is bigger than you know. Call me." Bigger than I know? What could be bigger than my wife cheating on me at my own birthday party? I looked at Delilah, who was standing across the room like a statue, her makeup streaked from crying, her hands still trembling. For a split second, I wondered if she knew who sent that message. I stepped into the kitchen without saying a word. My hands were shaking as I dialed the number that had just texted me. I half expected it to go straight to voicemail, but instead, a voice picked up after one ring. A man's voice, calm, almost too calm. "Vernon," he said, like he'd known me forever. "I was hoping you'd call. Who the hell is this?" I snapped. My voice was louder than I expected, and I could hear Delilah moving in the living room, trying to listen. "You don't know me," the man said. "But I know her, and I know what she's been doing. Curtis is just the tip of the iceberg. You've only seen half of the truth." I felt my throat tighten. "What are you talking about? I don't care about your riddles. Just tell me." "She's been meeting someone else." The man cut me off. "Not just for, but for money. Big money. Vernon, your wife isn't who you think she is. Check the locker at Riverstone Station. She's been hiding something there. If you want the truth, you'll go tonight." I froze. My first instinct was to think this was some sick prank. Who calls a man on his birthday to tell him his wife is cheating and involved in something shady? It sounded insane. But then again, so did everything about this night. When I went back into the living room, Delilah looked at me with wide, nervous eyes. "Who was that?" she asked, but her tone was different now. It wasn't concerned. It was defensive, like she already knew. I didn't answer her. I grabbed my keys and headed for the door. "Where are you going?" she demanded, her voice rising. I turned to look at her, and for the first time that night, I saw something like fear flash across her face. "You tell me," I said coldly. "What's at Riverstone Station?" Her lips parted, but no words came out. She looked like she'd just been caught in a trap she didn't even know I'd set. That was all I needed. I walked out before she could follow. The night was cold and silent when I pulled up to Riverstone Station. It's an old bus depot, half abandoned, the kind of place you avoid unless you have no other choice. My breath turned white in the air as I stepped inside, following the echo of my own footsteps. Locker 42. That's the number the stranger had given me. I expected nothing. Maybe a forgotten gym bag or some old clothes. But when I opened it, my blood ran cold. Inside was a small black box, locked with a code. Next to it, an envelope with my name on it. Not Mr. Vernon, not Sir, just Vernon, in Delilah's handwriting. I ripped the envelope open, my hands trembling. Inside was a single line, written in her looping, careful script. "If you found this, it means you know too much. Please don't hate me." I swear the world tilted for a moment. My wife wasn't just cheating, she was hiding something that went way beyond us. And I wasn't sure I wanted to know what was in that box. But curiosity is poison, and I was already too far gone. I grabbed the box and walked back to my car, completely unaware that someone was watching me from the shadows of the station. I didn't open the box right away. I couldn't. I sat in my car, gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles turned white, staring at that black box on the passenger seat, as if it were some kind of cursed object. My heart was pounding so fast it felt like it was shaking the entire car. What could possibly be inside? What could be so bad that Delilah left me that cryptic note, practically begging me not to hate her? I drove home with the box like it was a bomb about to go off, my mind replaying every moment of the night. The kiss with Curtis, the mysterious call, and now this. When I walked into the house, Delilah was still sitting on the couch. She shot up like she'd been waiting for me, her face pale, her eyes wide. "What did you find?" she asked, her voice trembling. I didn't answer her. I just held up the box. "You tell me," I said quietly, but my tone was cold. "What the hell is this?" Her face went blank for a second, like all the color drained out of her. Then she tried to grab it, but I stepped back. "Vernon, please, don't open it. Just give it to me, and let me explain." "Explain?" I barked out a laugh, but it sounded hollow even to me. "You've done nothing but lie all night, Delilah. Now you're going to tell me what's in this box, or I'm opening it right here and now." She looked at me for a long moment, and I could see something in her eyes I'd never seen before. Real fear. Not fear of losing me, but fear of what I was about to uncover. That made me even more determined. Without another word, I grabbed a kitchen knife and pried the lock open. The click of the metal snapping felt like a gunshot in the quiet house. Inside were stacks of cash. Not a few $100s, not even a few thousand. I'm talking bricks of money, neatly bundled and wrapped in rubber bands. And under the cash, there were photographs, grainy surveillance-style shots of men I didn't recognize, and one of Delilah, wearing a hoodie, her face partially hidden, standing next to a car I'd never seen before. "What the hell is this?" I whispered, my voice trembling. Delilah broke down then. She collapsed onto the floor, her hands covering her face. "I didn't want you to find out like this," she sobbed. "I was going to tell you. I just didn't know how." "Tell me what?" I shouted. I was shaking now, the anger and confusion mixing like poison in my veins. She looked up at me, her eyes red and swollen. "It's not what it looks like. It's not drugs or anything like that. I got involved with someone dangerous. I thought I could handle it, but I can't. Vernon, you don't understand. They'll come for us if they know you've seen this." The room spun. Dangerous? Come for us? This was no longer just about cheating or betrayal. I felt like I'd stumbled into the middle of something that could ruin both of us. "Who is they?" I demanded. She shook her head frantically. "I can't tell you. If I do, you'll be in even more danger. Please, just give me the box and forget you ever saw it. We can leave tonight." We can start over somewhere else. I stood there, gripping the box, my mind racing. Part of me wanted to believe her, to grab her hand and run, but another part of me, the part that had been humiliated and lied to, wanted answers. All of them. Before I could respond, there was a loud knock at the door. 3 heavy bangs, each one louder than the last. Delilah's face went completely white. "They're here," she whispered. The knock didn't sound like a neighbor or a delivery guy. It was heavy, deliberate, the kind of knock that told you whoever was outside wasn't leaving without getting what they wanted. Delilah's hands flew to her mouth, and for a second, I thought she might faint. I was frozen, clutching that black box like it was the only thing tethering me to reality. When the knock came again, even harder this time, I felt my stomach twist. "Vernon," she whispered, her voice shaking. "Please, don't open it. Just give me the box and let me handle this." "Handle this?" I snapped, though my voice wasn't much louder than a hiss. "Delilah, you've lied to me all night. You've cheated, you've hidden this." I gestured to the stacks of cash spilling out of the box. "And now you're telling me someone dangerous is knocking on our door? No, you don't get to handle this anymore. I need answers." The knock turned into pounding. Whoever was on the other side wasn't waiting for permission anymore. I stepped toward the door, every nerve in my body screaming at me to stop, but I didn't. I swung it open, and for a split second, I wished I hadn't. 2 men stood there, both dressed in dark coats despite the warm night air. They looked wrong, not in the way a criminal looks in movies, no ski masks or visible weapons, but in the way their eyes locked onto me like they were reading my soul. The taller one, with slicked back hair and a scar cutting across his eyebrow, smiled like it was rehearsed. "Evening," he said smoothly. "We're here for something that belongs to us." Behind me, I felt Delilah step forward. "Elias," she said, her voice shaking but familiar in a way that made my blood run cold. "Please, not here. Not in front of him." I turned to her, stunned. "You know them?" Elias's smile widened, but there was no warmth in it. "Of course she does. We've worked together. I think you have something of ours, Vernon." His gaze dropped to the box in my hands. My throat tightened. "This?" I asked, my voice almost cracking. Delilah grabbed my arm. "Don't. Just give it to them, Vernon. Please." I looked at her, and for a moment, everything stopped. This was my wife, the woman I'd built a life with, the woman I'd trusted with everything. And she was standing here, trembling like a child, begging me to give this box of cash and secrets to 2 strangers on my doorstep. Every instinct screamed at me not to trust her, not to trust anyone. "No," I said finally, the word leaving my mouth before I even realized it. "You don't just show up at my house, scare my wife, and expect me to hand this over without an explanation." Elias's smile faded. He glanced at the other man, who took 1 step forward. "You don't want to play hero tonight," Elias said, his voice low and calm, but there was an edge to it that made my skin crawl. "That box isn't yours. You give it to us, and this ends quietly. Otherwise," he let the threat hang in the air like a noose. Delilah started crying. "Vernon, please, just do it. You don't know what they're capable of." And that's when I realized something I hadn't dared to consider. Whatever she had gotten herself into, it was bigger than a marriage falling apart. This wasn't just infidelity. This was survival. But a stubborn, angry part of me refused to cave. "No," I said again, this time louder. "You want it? Tell me what's really going on. Tell me who you are. Tell me why my wife has thousands of dollars hidden in a locker, or I'm calling the cops right now." Elias chuckled, but there was no humor in it. "You really don't get it, do you?" he said, stepping closer until he was standing just inches from me. "Call whoever you want. By the time they get here, you'll wish you never picked up that box." And then, as if to prove his point, the other man pulled something from his coat. Not a gun, but a phone. He tapped the screen, turned it around, and showed me a video, a live feed of our driveway, our cars, even our backyard. Someone was already watching us. Delilah gasped. No, you promised you wouldn't." "Things change," Elias said coldly. I didn't know what to do. My hands were sweating, my heart was pounding so hard it hurt, and I could barely think straight. But I knew one thing. Handing over that box without knowing the truth felt like walking into a trap. I took a slow step back and slammed the door in their faces. The silence after that was suffocating. I turned to Delilah, who was staring at me like I'd just signed our death warrant. "You've made a mistake," she said, her voice shaking. You have no idea what's coming now. And just as she said that, my phone buzzed again. Another message from the unknown number. If you value your life, get out of the house. Now. The message glared back at me like a threat carved into stone. If you value your life, get out of the house. Now. My first thought was that it had to be from the same stranger who sent me to Riverstone Station, the one who had blown my entire life open in the first place. But why warn me now? Was this person trying to protect me, or just push me deeper into this chaos? Delilah's face twisted with panic when she saw my phone. Who's telling you this? Vernon, listen to me. If Elias is outside, we can't just sit here. He's not bluffing. If he says he wants the box, he'll take it, and he won't care what happens to us in the process. The box sat on the coffee table, the stacks of cash looking like they belonged in a drug cartel movie, not in the middle of my quiet suburban living room. I didn't want to admit it, but my gut was screaming the same thing Delilah was saying. This wasn't over. If we stayed, something bad, really bad, was going to happen. Start talking, Delilah, I demanded. My voice came out sharper than I intended, but I didn't care anymore. No more half-truths. No more begging me to trust you. Who is Elias? Who are these people? And what the hell have you dragged us into? She ran a hand through her hair, pacing the room like a caged animal. I can't give you names, she said finally. The less you know, the better. But I got involved with them when we were falling apart. I thought I could make quick money, just enough to pay off some debts and fix things between us. I swear I didn't mean for it to go this far. Quick money. I laughed, but there was no humor in it. What? You thought running around with criminals and hiding cash would save our marriage. Her voice cracked. It wasn't just for me, Vernon. It was for us. I thought I was doing something to get us out of that hole we were in. Before I could respond, there was another loud bang on the door, this time followed by a voice. Elias's voice, calm but with an edge that made my blood run cold. Last chance, Vernon. Give me the box, or I'll come in and take it. Delilah grabbed my arm. We have to go, she hissed. Now. For a moment, I hesitated. Running felt like admitting she was right about everything, like I was just another pawn in her mess. But then I remembered the video feed on that man's phone, the way they were already watching us. Something about this wasn't just about money. It felt bigger. It felt like we were caught in the middle of something I didn't fully understand yet. I grabbed my car keys and the box. Delilah didn't wait for me. She bolted out the back door like she'd done this before. I followed, my heart pounding, half expecting to see someone waiting in the dark yard. But it was quiet, eerily so. We sprinted to my car, and I threw the box in the back seat before flooring it out of the driveway. As soon as we hit the main road, I glanced in the rearview mirror, and that's when I saw them. Two black SUVs, their headlights cutting through the night like predators. They're following us, I muttered, my grip tightening on the wheel. Delilah turned to look, and the fear on her face was like nothing I'd ever seen. Drive faster, she said, her voice shaking. Whatever happens, don't stop. Not for them, not for anyone. I pushed the pedal to the floor, the engine roaring as we sped down the highway, but the SUVs stayed close, weaving through traffic like they owned the road. I could feel the adrenaline flooding my veins, my brain barely able to process what was happening. Tell me the truth, Delilah, I said, my voice shaking but firm. Who are these people? What do they want with you? And why do they want this box so badly? She swallowed hard, her eyes fixed on the road ahead. Because it's not just cash in there, she said quietly. There's something else, something worth more than money. My stomach dropped. What do you mean? Before she could answer, one of the SUVs pulled up alongside us, its window rolling down. I caught a glimpse of Elias in the passenger seat, his cold smile illuminated by the dashboard light. And then I realized, this wasn't going to end with us just driving away. The SUV swerved dangerously close, its tires screeching against the asphalt. My heart pounded so hard I thought I'd pass out, but instinct took over. I jerked the wheel and veered off the highway onto a narrow back road, the kind that twisted through the trees like it had no end. Delilah clung to the door handle, her face pale, but she didn't say a word. Behind us, the headlights of the two SUVs split. One stayed on our tail while the other tried to cut us off ahead. I knew we couldn't outrun them forever. My mind raced, searching for a way out, when suddenly I remembered the stranger's text. This is bigger than you know. Call me. With one hand on the wheel, I dialed the number. The voice answered immediately, calm and steady, as if he'd been waiting for this moment. Turn left at the next dirt road, the man instructed. Do it now. I'll handle the rest. I didn't have time to question him. I trusted that voice more than anything Delilah had told me all night. I slammed the wheel left, and we tore down a gravel path into the dark woods. For a moment, I thought the SUVs would follow, but then I saw them slam on their brakes at the turn, as if they suddenly thought better of it. A minute later, they were gone. We pulled to a stop, both of us gasping for breath. I felt like every nerve in my body was on fire. The phone was still in my hand, and I brought it to my ear. Who are you? I demanded. Someone who's been watching them for a long time, the man replied. That box in your car? It's evidence. Enough to put Elias and his people behind bars for a long time. You just handed me the proof I needed. Evidence. I glanced back at the black box. You're saying this isn't about Delilah? Oh, it's about her too, the man said. But not in the way you think. She got involved with them because she thought she had no choice. They've been using her to move money, keeping her trapped. She's not innocent, but she's not the villain either. Get that box to me, and this ends tonight. I looked at Delilah. For once, she didn't look like she was hiding something. She just looked tired, broken even. And in that moment, I realized something. I didn't want revenge anymore. I just wanted my life back. We followed the man's directions and met him at a deserted diner an hour later. He was older than I expected, wearing a plain jacket and a face that looked like it had seen too much. I handed him the box, and he nodded. You've done the right thing, Vernon. You'll be safe now. Both of you. By sunrise, Elias and his crew were gone, taken down by whatever team this man worked with. I never got the full story, and maybe I didn't need it. All I knew was that when I drove home with Delilah, the nightmare felt like it was finally over. We didn't speak much on the way back. There was too much between us, too many wounds that would take time to heal. But when we walked into the quiet house, I saw something in her eyes I hadn't seen in a long time. Gratitude, maybe even hope. Vernon, she said softly, I don't expect you to forgive me. Not after everything. But thank you for not giving up on me when I didn't deserve it. I didn't have the strength to answer, but I didn't need to. I just took her hand. And for the first time that night, I felt like maybe, just maybe, we could rebuild something out of the wreckage. That morning, as the sunlight crept into our living room, I realized that this birthday would be the one I'd never forget. Not because of the pain, or the lies, or even the danger, but because it was the day I saw everything clearly. I wasn't the same Vernon I'd been before. I was stronger now. And as Delilah leaned against me, both of us exhausted but alive, I knew this wasn't the end of our story. It was the beginning of a new one.